Hey again, class. Over the weekend, I was playing with this particular Python program, and I wanted to share it because it points out a couple of things that we've already crossed over and done, but it also provides just another way to do it. Typically, I always say anymore, I don't care how the cake is created as long as it's correct. So there's multiple ways to bake a cake. Similarly with Python, there's multiple ways to code a program. It's just a matter of desire of what you prefer, and there's always that wanting to do as efficiently as possible. So let's look at this first, and then I want to cover the specific aspects that I'm talking about. So, of course, here's the first comments, as I'm always asking you guys to do, providing basically who did it, when, and give an idea of what this is supposed to do. I have my two variables that you should recognize now. This input is a little bit different than what you may have seen yet. And also notice that the int for integer is here. And then I will have these variables convert into these variables. And then I have my if, else statement to check if it's true. And if it's true, then I want it to print out or do something. All right, so let's look at this. I'm going to move this aside a little bit, out of the way. Now, typically in the past, we would always see something to the effect of, let's say, create a variable that's going to be a integer. And then we would perform our operations, checking it or whatever. But in order to print it out, we would typically, in the past, would say 1 equals string 1. And recall what this does is it changes the data type from an integer into a string, which then allows you to print this out in a print statement. Now this is two steps, essentially. Taking the variable, converting it, and then printing it out. But what I want to point out is that what you could ideally do is convert it in the same line as you're printing it out. So this is what it's doing here. It's taking a integer value and then it's checking it, because we still have to have a numeric value to check if it's equal to or greater than or less than or equal to that particular number. And then it prints it out, but notice here on the print statement, right here, I am converting it to a string. I still have my string values here, and then I'm also converting my second integer value into a string on the exact same line command. This is kind of a shortcut. It's a bit cleaner, and it's less, so it's more efficiency as well, the steps. It's all in one. Now, similarly, we've in the past just only been converting a integer into a string so we can print this out. But here, if you notice, this variable also on my input, I purposely create it and make it an integer. So anything that they put in the value here, it's going to be an integer. And then it's going to be into the variable as an integer data type. So now kind of understanding that a little bit, if we run through here, this input statement is going to produce, is going to ask, type me a number. Whatever value is going to be placed, it'll be placed as an integer data type into the variable 1. It's going to ask again. It's going to put it as an integer data type variable 2. Then here I'm just changing variable names. 1 into answer 1, 2 and answer 2. And here, it's still a data type integer. I'm checking, does this value greater than or equal to 1? And does this value greater than or equal to 1? If so, print this out. If not, it's going to check again, and it's going to print it out. If none of these, it's going to print out a huh. So let's go ahead and run this. So we can see this in action. So the first thing it's going to do, as I mentioned before, it's going to ask, what's the first number? So let me go ahead and let's say 2, and it's going to ask again, let's say 6. So here we have 2 and 6 slammed in here, 2 and 6. It's going to check, greater than or equal to 1, greater, yeah, sure it is. Then print it out. And notice that it prints it out 2 and 6. Now, what we could do here is we could actually make this a little bit different and try to get the second line. But these two should capture pretty much everything here that we want. So let's go ahead and do it one more time. And let me just put something crazy in there. Boom. Doesn't recognize it. It's an invalid literal integer, base 10. So here's an error because it's not a true number. So you still get your errors and stuff. All right. But the main thing I want you to know is on this particular video is you can put the data type conversions on the same line command to lessen the steps and make it a little bit more efficient. So hope that helps.